Welcome to the next module. In this module, we will be looking at Arctic Expedition Part 1. Why humans take risk? This is a fundamental question which we are going to answer in this particular module. This is our natural tendency to explore new things, or it may be to gain new and exciting experiences, or to achieve something which others have not done it. That is, I am going to do it for the first time. So that is a kind of achievement people want to show. Or it may be to get recognition, that is name, fame or fortune. So that is the reason people explore new things. Or it may be to find out the uncertainty and challenges that drive the urge to explore situations in which there is a potential for reward. So these are some of the normal reasons why humans take risk. But along with that, even biologically, the neurotransmitters which are responsible for releasing dopamine or glutamate or GABA are also responsible for some persons to take higher risk than the rest of the people, or it may also be due to some social, biological or biosocial behavior. So these are all the various reasons by which humans take risk. And of course, in the language Tamil, it is called as Ilangandru Bayamariya. That means the younger calf doesn't know fear. So that means it can go and roam anywhere without any fear. So that is how people go and explore new places. And of course, if we talk about normal human beings, the parents are always worried about if some young children are taking risk, or maybe their kids are taking risk. The children may be even older, but still for the parents, they are always worried about the well-being of their children. So that's the reason the parents always say, be safe, don't take risk. But when you look at the other side, the peers of the normal people, although your parents say, be safe, your friends will always encourage you to take some risk. So there is always a dilemma in our mind whether we should follow our parents or our peers or our friends. So this is the biggest challenge we face in our normal life. And even for explorer, it is one and the same thing. They are actually having this particular urge to prove something that they are little bit different than the rest of the people. And let us look at two similar terms, which are explorations and expeditions. Are they same or are they going to be different? So when we talk about exploration has a broad definition, but it can be considered like travel over new territory. As simple as we can say that if you are going to travel to a new territory, we simply say we are going to explore that place. And since we are going for the first time, that area is actually undiscovered, or it is new to the explorer who are going to explore the place. Or this may be due to some adventure, or maybe for discovery part, or for looking at something in a careful way to learn more about it. So these are all various things. As a scientist, we explore things. That means we don't know something, so we are going to figure it out what it is. And the main crux of exploration is where you are going, you don't know anything about that. That means this involves basically curiosity. So that is what is the exploration part. When we go to the expedition part, expedition is a journey that requires planning and purpose setting. That means I am just not roaming anywhere, but I have a specific purpose that I want to achieve something. And it is usually undertaken by a group of people, or maybe for a specific purpose, such as to explore distant places or to do research. And of course, the crux of expedition is where you are going, you know, but how to get there, you actually don't know. So this is the major difference between exploration and expedition. And let us come to the main topic, which is the Arctic. So why do people explore Arctic? What is the reason behind that? This is basically driven by the curiosity or thirst for adventure to reach the North Pole. So this is one of the reasons people were very curious to explore Arctic, or maybe due to some political reason. That means to chart and conquer the vast frozen land, which is not part of any countries, or it may be due to economic reason. That means to develop trade with other countries, like opening up new shipping routes. That may also be one of the reason, or to find out the northwest or the northeast passage. That means from Atlantic Ocean or the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean side to, we are going to see the Arctic on the east side, or it may be due to find out the northwest passage which is connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans via the Arctic Ocean, or it may be the northwest passage, that is which is passing over the Eurasian continent, that is stretching between the waters of Norwegian Sea and the Bering Strait. Or maybe it is due to some scientific reason, that is to measure and determine the ice movements and the sea currents under the ice pack, or to study terrestrial magnetism and meteorological observations, or to record and study physiochemical parameters like air and ocean temperature, pressure, salinity, wind intensity, ice thickness, ocean acidification, etc. So these are all the various reasons by which people wanted to explore Arctic. And of course, we will start from the 18th century. Here are some of the images which is shown here, cutting away the Floberg at Cape Beechey, that is Nunavut in the Canadian Territory. So this picture was taken in August 1876. Here, the men risked their life for the sake of discovering the unknown corners of the earth. Here you see there are plenty of ice, and in fact their ship is completely surrounded by the ice. So they are trying to cut through this ice to travel. And let us look at some of the very important Arctic explorations. We will start from the 18th century and then we will go till the 19th century. So in the beginning of 18th century, John Ross first started their Northwest Passage, and in the mid 80s John Franklin carried out his very important expedition, but of course it's the last expedition. We will look at more details about John Franklin's last expedition. And late in the end of 18th century, Danish people also tried to explore the unexplored areas. And of course, these are all some of the timelines, and we will look at these timelines in a much more elaborate way. Like if we start from 1818, John Ross from UK started the first Royal Navy expedition. Their main objective was to search the Northwest Passage, and in 1819 to 1822, John Franklin first did the Coppermine expedition. This is they explored the northern Canada, because back then Canada was part of British Empire. And in 1825 and 1827, again John Franklin went through the Mackenzie River expedition. Here he explored the North American coast. And then in between 1829 and 33, John Ross went through the search of Northwest Passage, but he located the North Magnetic Pole. And then in 1860 and 61, an American explorer went to the open, or he went for looking for the open polar sea, because back then people were thinking that the North is having an open polar sea. And in 1864, the Swedish explorer Nordenskjöld, he is a very, very important person in this Arctic exploration. So he reached Svalbard for the first time. And then in 1868, Kohlwey from Deutschland, that is Germany, he went to the east coast of Greenland. So there are various people who had been trying to find out the entire Northwest Passage. And of course, in 1878 and 79, again, Nordenskjöld, he completed the Northeast Passage. And of course, 1891 and 92, Robert Peary went to the Greenland. So here, he wanted to find out whether the Greenland was an island or it was part of a peninsula in the North Pole. And then of course, in 1895 and 96, Vandal carried out the Ingolf expedition. Here, he did some scientific measurements like hydrographical and biological studies he had carried out in the waters around Greenland, Iceland and Jan Mayen Islands. Of course, here I have not mentioned the Nansen's trip. We will be looking at Nansen's trip elaborately in the next module. Of course, then we move on to the 19th century. In 1903 and 1906, Roald Amundsen, he went to the Gyoza expedition, where he was the first person to traverse the Northwest Passage. So this is the greatest achievement back then. For the first time he did that explorations completely. And in 1905 and 1906, Robert Peary from USA, he wanted to go to the North Pole, but he went up to Ellesmere Island. And in 1908 and 1909, again Robert Peary claims that he had reached the North Pole for the first time. And of course, there were little bit controversy. We will look at those controversies later in the part. And in 1912, Ramundsen and Peter Frunsen, they first went to the northern Greenland and established the Peary Island is not an island. They also proved that Peary Island is not an island. So these are some of the things had happened. And in 1926, again, Amundsen went through the air. This is the first time he traveled through the air. In other words, people had been traveling through the Arctic Passage in the sea for so far, and airplanes were not discovered back then. So in 1926 only, it was first shown that we can actually travel through the North Pole through airship.